The vexed issue of fuel subsidy removal and its attendant effects, President Bola Tinubu has directed the National Economic Council, NEC, led by Vice President Kashim Shettima, to begin the process of working on interventions to ameliorate the impact of subsidy removal on the people. The governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, stated this after leading some major oil marketers on a courtesy call on President Tinubu at the villa. Today, we'll be talking palliatives now, yes, because it's so obvious that there's no going back on the removal of subsidy. So
you need to people need to know that it's not a decision that Asiwaju can take. Nigerians need information. This is already backed by law. And the decision was taken by the government before him. Because I see people giving the impression that Asiwaju was the one who removed, so he didn't remove any subsidy. In fact, there has not been any policy on the part of the current government on subsidy, beyond what he just said, that subsidy is gone. And he was only reporting what had happened. Because there was no subsidy, monies appropriated for subsidy in the 2023 budget. Nigerians need to know this. The National Assembly took a decision based on what the executive wanted to remove subsidy and set a date. So it's done and dusted. The decision taken by the former administration. Asiwaju just happened to be the government that has supplanted the old government and is doing its own time that was supposed to take effect. So that's just the thing. There's nothing like going back. It can't even be contemplated at this stage. It can't be contemplated because people talk about money appropriated for it up to the end of June. Have they seen money? Money can be in the budget and
no cash back.
Not cash backing. Have they seen money when we are broke? Are they going to deny the usual people used to tell us we are not broke, we are lying? Can they come out now and say Nigeria is not broke? When in one quarter, you spend 118% of what you earned. The first quarter of last year, 118% of what you earned, you use this to service debt. That means you took loan to service debt.
That makes sense.
So a country that is prosperous, that is not broke, do they do things like that? And ordinarily, you are spending 96%. Cumulatively, for that year, you spend 96% of what you earned to service debt. So is that how to show that you are not broke? And you are not earning enough? You are not earning enough and you are still paying subsidy. It will just collapse on everyone's head if we do not take the right step. And thankfully, before Asiwaju took over, that decision had been taken. It's just like saying, okay, we don't want PIA again. Whereas the Petroleum Industry Act had already been done by the previous administration. Can you reverse that kind of thing? So this is the situation that we found ourselves. Nothing like going back. Labour should know at this stage that, yes, they can ask for...
We can be talking about palliative.
Good deal for their members. Salary raise, Asiwaju already even talked about it when he was speaking with APC governors that, look, the current salary that workers are earning is not in line with present-day reality. So it is perfectly legitimate for Labour to say, look, given what is going on, you need to increase our salaries. And TUC has led the charge. They've asked for, I think,
200,000. From 30,000 to 200,000.
They can begin to talk. You know, it's like you want to buy something now from an Hausa man, and he tells you, Kaban Dubu Ashirin. You now begin to. That's not how much he wants to sell it.
He negotiates.
Yes.
Negotiate.
From that
price.
Dubu Ashirin, you can actually.
What's Dubu Ashirin?
It's 20,000.
20,000. Ashirin is 20,000.
You can still buy it.
Palliatives 30. Okay.
You can still buy it 2,000.
Okay.
On a good day.
Okay.
But he wants to use that to test the waters to see whether you have deep pocket and you don't mind. You know, so Let them, it's 200,000 from begin, it can go down.
It can go down to 45.
To something more realistic. So it's a good point for them to start. It shows that they are very ambitious labor leaders. So,
and so, some people will argue that when you talk about palliative, that the Shetima Committee should be able to, put in place something that will cut across. Because if you are talking about 200,000 for civil servants and, the number of people in the informal sector and the number of people in the private sector, that, it might not be something that will cut across at the end of the day, just for civil servants and, state and federal, workers. So some people are saying that government should be able to put in place with what will affect everybody directly. Like somebody said it on radio this morning. He said, the palliative he wants from government is stable power supply. That if that power supply is so stable, if you can have 24 hours.
But that one too, they've actually privatized that one too. So do you want government to also go back and begin to subsidize power, for us? But truly, I think that person made a lot of sense there. Because if people don't buy petrol for generator, it solves a major problem for them, Because if you look at some of the palliatives that they were talking about, providing buses, but if you look at those buses, are majorly who will use the bus will be maybe civil servants. If you say 100 buses, for instance, or 1,000 buses, for instance, some of them, most of the people that will be using will be first civil servants will get a chunk. Then what of the other millions of Nigerians? Where are they going to? Where are you going to now start putting those buses? So I think the committee will now begin to look at, okay, fine, how many millions of people, how many buses will they buy? Because I remember the meeting they had, the depot owners, when they had a meeting with the president, they were saying one bus costs about 100 million to get. And that is, they are not using petrol, but it's a compressed natural gas, that they will be using, or diesel. And don't forget, diesel has also been deregulated. So once you begin to buy 100 million naira buses for them to begin to apply the road, how many will you buy? So they have to sit down and begin to look at it. Don't forget that Nigerians will also be, apart from transportation, moving goods and services from one place to the other, people will also be looking at food. So what palliative measures are they going to, bring in place so that when I go to the market, if rice is 20,000 in a bag, I should be able to see rice at 15,000. So they have to look at it. Maybe they have to bring back the commodity board or something where people will be able to go there and buy food at a cheaper rate. So the committee has a lot of work to do. It's not something they will just come up with. And at the end of the day, Nigerians will begin to say, they didn't gain from the whole subsidy removal thing. You have to sit down, look at, okay, what are the major needs of Nigeria? This palliative has to be immediate. It's not something that they will look at in future and say, no, it has to be immediate. What are those immediate things? Is it electricity? Is it food? Is it transportation? They now begin to look at it and say, okay, fine, we'll have to subsidize it and make it cheap, very cheap, in such a way that Nigeria, at least it will reduce the sufferings of Nigerians.
Do you know, before we talk about the palliative, I was shocked. I saw one video earlier today. I think I sent you that video. And somebody interpreted it in French. People were abusing Tinubu in Cameroon. I was like, what?
Yes.
So this has been happening.
They've been enjoying subsidized fuel.
For the past how many years? Nigeria has been like Father Christmas to Togo.
They didn't want it to end. Our borders are porous. And once you can settle law enforcement agents, you will move hundreds of tankers across the border, to sell fuel to people. A lot of
subsidizing
fuel smuggling in different guises, and the interesting thing is, you look at Niger Republic, for example, they can almost not survive without Nigeria. And they share border with, I think, about 7 states or so, from Kebbi in the northwest right up to Yobe in the northeast. That border with Niger Republic. In all of these places, there's a lot of smuggling going on. their economies are virtually reliant on the Nigerian economy. So, and this fuel smuggling has been on for so long. Yes, our friends who have been stealing from subsidy bills are telling us that, oh, it is smuggling that is causing. But if you remember the analysis that the Controller General of Customs gave, you know that even the matter of smuggling is exaggerated. You know, because you look at a country
Almost
like
everybody is complicit in this.
What is the GDP of Niger Republic? All the cars in Niger Republic put together can't be more than all the cars in Kaduna, Katsina, and Kano. So to give the impression that, oh, all of this thing goes to smuggling is just exaggeration and an opportunity to cover their tracks. So we have been selling cheap fuel for so long. Now that it has come to an end, those motorcycle riders in that place, in Garou, Cameroon, they can't explain it, and they decided to protest. Some of them were speaking Fufude, the Fulani language. Some were speaking French. You know, they were just showing their anger. But, you know, this is something that at some stage...
All they know is that it's Tinubu.
And that was what they told them.
Yes.
You know,
It's Tinubu, they
listen to VOA, Hausa service.
Okay.
They listen to the BBC, Hausa service. Those media outlets are very popular in all of those communities where people speak Hausa and all that. So they know that the information was that, okay, during his inauguration, he said subsidy was gone. So they are blaming him, you know, but it sends a clear signal to us that, look, for so long, you've been subsidizing not just Nigerians, but subsidizing smugglers and people in other countries. And now we are broke.
And that guys now will come, they will say they are millionaires, economic saboteurs.
Yes. People are allowing tankers. Remember that video that one guy shot? One custom guy that said he does not mind to lose his job, he does not mind to die. When he stopped them, you saw that convoy of tankers. They were going, trying to go across the border, and he stopped them. Even textiles is the same way that smuggling of textiles happens along that border. I've said it here before that I once asked Dangote, when he met us at Protea Hotel some years back. That was the day he took the decision to do this refinery. And I went to him, I said, why did you shut your textile company in Kano? Because it was the fourth largest textile company in Nigeria. He looked at me. So he said, I didn't know you hate me this much. So you really hate me? I said, oh, no, sir. Just explain to me why a thriving textile company, the fourth largest in our country, you just shut it down. He said, why won't I? When smugglers were going to kill me. And the friends of the smugglers are the people in government. I'm quoting him. He said, we couldn't stop them from smuggling textile materials. When they smuggle textile materials, how can the local ones thrive? So he had to make a choice. Okay, I'll go into producing food. That's how he went into the spaghetti, pasta, and the rest of them, because he knows whether you like it or not, at some point you want to eat. When hunger drives you mad, you go and eat. So he went into consumables like that. And as far as he's concerned, it was a good decision to shut the thing. And look how many jobs were lost. This is the damage that smuggling does to us as a nation. Many local industries have shut down because of consistent smuggling. A lot of the textile companies, they are gone. I just hope that this government can help revive those textile companies, especially those of them in Kaduna. I had former governor Shomole, who himself is a product of
textile.
Yes, he was working with Arewa
Textile Union.
Arewa Textile, not far from where I used to live in Kaduna. And today, all those companies are dead. And they used to provide employment for many people. They used to provide livelihood for many families. They are dead. So now, steps have to be taken. What are the palliatives that we can come up with? Let's not kid ourselves. there's no palliative that you can provide that will go around everybody. The people in the rural areas who grow the food that we eat, in most of those places, there's even no access to electricity. So if Asiwaju were to provide electricity, improve electricity, it may still not reach those people. And if you say, okay, buy buses, the people in the rural areas, do they use buses?
They're not going
They don't use those. Those buses will be in the urban centers. And we've been in this situation before, where after a while, those buses collapsed due to poor maintenance, no spares and all that. You bring in, you import buses without importing enough spares. They will just die after a while. So, look, in the final analysis, Nigerians will have to sacrifice. Civil servants, public servants, they are not up to 10% of our population. So if you make them happy, you increase their salary, you are still going to be left with so many other people. Electricity, improvement in electricity will help us revitalize industries, SMEs that are the real engine of growth. They will benefit tremendously. But the notion that anyone can come up with palliatives that will please everybody, I don't think that is possible. If you do some roads leading to major production belts in our country, a lot of those will be able to evacuate their produce. That will make them happy. So they can set aside funds to build roads, targeting rural communities where a lot of the food we eat are produced, especially in those major production belts like Benue, like the Zaria area, even in Borno State. There are places where they grow rice in abundance, places where they produce fish in abundance. If they make roads in those places, create roads and make those places accessible, the farmers will be able to bring their produce out. And that will really solve a lot of problems for them. But even that one cannot happen immediately. It can't happen immediately. It will take some time. But I just hope that when they come up with those ideas, they will also be single-minded in pursuing the implementation of those ideas. That is what will be the difference maker.
And as we go quickly, the government will have to do something about the biting hunger and the level of poverty, even before palliative came. So when you look at the poverty level, it's something else.
I think Asiwaju even spoke about it.
Yeah. The thing is that there's poverty in the land. So, and that is why so many people are looking for ways and means for them to survive in any way. We are just a very lucky country that we are still working and nobody is laying us on the road because it's really bad outside. So whatever they are going to do, they have to start looking at the immediate solution. As in immediate, when I mean immediate, I mean hunger, how to address hunger first. Because when once somebody gets food to eat, it reduces at least 50 to 60% of his problem. Shelter can come anytime, but in terms of food, let them just address the food area.